back to another episode of the War Room Podcast. This is Big E. We got my man T-Cop. How you doing, T-Cop?
Hey, what's up, brother?
Ain't nothing much, man. Let's handle our business first. The show is brought to you by Believe and Bet Online. You know, from all the latest odds, totals, players' performance, props to where the next fired coach is going to land, Bet Online is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. Head over to the website or use your mobile devices to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC, Olympics. I mean, pretty much anything. So BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline where the game starts. So we didn't get a chance to have a show last week because our colleague here, Mr. T-Cop, was busy doing big things. T-Cop, tell us about what you had going on, brother.
Man, so I had the opportunity to go to the NFL/NCAA Coaching Academy, located up at in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the office up there, the central office for NCAA. And man, when I tell you, that experience was crazy. I mean, you met so many coaches, not really necessarily NFL coaches, but you met a ton of college coaches. And the information that you was given just on not necessarily X's and O's, but how to lay it and start not a foundation, but lay and start, the culture of a team, and understanding relationships and understanding how to reach certain people. So we did a disc test on ourselves, a personality test, and man, it really humbled me because it showed things that I feel like, okay, I'm deficient in, but it also showed things that, I was pretty good in, when it comes to my personality and the things that I'm more likely to do. So it was just crazy, the opportunity. The networking was amazing. Getting a chance to talk to the Colts GM, he talked to us, getting a chance to talk to the Colts head coach. He talked to us as well. And these are like our segments that they're going in on different things, different parts of it, but not just about X and O's. Truthfully, that was honestly the last thing that we're talking about, X and O's, but it's everything else around that makes up a good team, and how to coach and how to reach your players, so it was just a ton of information. It was a great opportunity. I'm definitely appreciative to the New Orleans Saints. I went up there representing their organization, so it was a great experience. I can't complain about it. I loved it. I loved the networking opportunity and also the information that I received. So, amazing experience.
Did you have an opportunity to actually speak to the other coaches, for you to present, or you was just there as more of a student?
So I was there more of a student.
Okay.
So you only had a certain amount. They got nominated. So you actually had to nominate yourself. We're not nominate yourself, but you actually had to apply to go to this coaching academy. And so a lot of coaches that was there was a lot of college coaches just there. Like I was there to soak up the information, but you had the opportunity to talk to the speakers afterwards. You had the opportunity to get their information afterwards. So anytime you need to reach out to them about anything like that, that we talked about, or things that you may haven't talked about, we have all those contacts and also contacts with other coaches that was there as well.
Was there one speaker that stood out the most?
Yes. It was two. John Oliver is amazing at what he does. John Oliver is the guy that did the disc test so they can understand your personality. But he did an amazing job. I learned so much from him. And then on top of that, the Colts head coach. Man, when I tell you this guy is very personable, it wasn't just so, what can I say, so professionally, when he's speaking, it wasn't just, oh, I'm just giving coach talk. He really opened up to us about certain things. He got emotional a little bit about certain things, so just seeing that side of a GM and seeing they are normal people, they're regular people, and go through the same things we go through or went through certain things that everybody's going to go through. So just to know that side of them and they allowed us to get real personal with them, and they open up to us like that. So, you know, that type of stuff, I love that type of stuff, you know, to see the real person and not just the coach.
Right. That makes sense. A lot of times people get confused and put these coaches, owners, GMs in a different light simply because they're in a job that is spotlighted for the nation to see. But in all actuality, they're still humans, and they're humans beforehand. So I find that pretty dope, man. I'm actually kind of jealous that you got to go and you didn't put a word in for Big E, but it's all good. We ain't gonna talk about it too much, you know. But how's the Premier Sports Academy? What's going on there?
Man, we're doing great right now, man. We have 7-on-7 still going on. Registration ends March 5th for 7-on-7. We had our first practice yesterday. We started a week early before registration closed because our first game is in Raleigh, March 26th. So we had to go ahead and get the ball rolling and get the information installed. Yesterday was just a lot of chalk talk. We didn't even go outside. We was inside on the chalkboard, drawing up defensive plays and going coverages. So 7-on-7 is going on. We have our basketball league is still going on now. We're always doing speed and agility strength training. We're always doing skill-specific training. So if you ever want to get any training for your child, whether it be speed training, strength training, receiver training, whether it's O-line, D-line training, you'll be working with Big E yourself, you know. So, you know, right now we're rolling. We're rolling right now.
I look forward to it. And a lot of guys, to be the difference on your team, and this is for the parents and the players, to be the difference team is doing that extra. Not doing exactly what your teammates are doing, just waiting for that class during the school day or when coach schedules something after school or whatever the case may be. That extra training is so important to get better and to put yourself out there in front of other people and put yourself in one of a leadership role, because it's not just about athletic training at Premier. We also try to teach leadership skills as far as being the leader of the team, the captains per se, because myself and T-Cop have both been captains and have been held accountable for teammates and wanting to get the best out of our teammates. So those are some things that we go over as well at the Premier Sports Academy. You know, speaking, my season's getting ready to start at my minor league football team, the North Carolina Rebels. You know, we played on the 5th this Saturday coming against the preseason number 2 team, who just actually won a national championship a couple weekends ago. They're starting their spring season. So our kickoff classes for the Coastal Football Alliance, being Charlotte, play the number 2 team, not necessarily pleased about having to play the number 2 team the first game of the year, but hey, the schedule is what it is. We're going to line it up, throw the ball out there, and see what we could do. So we'll see what happens. But
look,
yeah.
Oh, you gotta let the people know, man. They're the number 2 team, but y'all the number 1 team.
Well, you're right. I did not mention that. We are the number 1 team.
Y'all been 1 team
for a while. And you know, I'm kind of a humble guy, so I don't really like talk about it. But Eastern North Carolina, the number 1 semi-pro football team is in Eastern North Carolina. We play our home games at Richlands High School, where I went to high school at, and our away games this weekend we'll be in Charlotte for the kickoff classic, but we have games in the Raleigh area, High Point, Fayetteville type thing. So the schedule will be posted for everybody to see. If anybody wants to come out and support, we'd love to have you. It's some good football. A lot of kids on the team. I'm not going to say kids, these are adults, but a lot of them were those kids we watched on Friday nights at some of our local schools. So we have D.H. Conley, Rose, South Central, Richlands, Eastern Wayne, Plymouth, Washington. We got so many players that come from all of these schools in the area. So sometimes it's good to see these guys play again, because we kind of lose track of who they are, where they went, and all these things. So there's a way to get them back out there and see those guys play. So we look forward to having some guys out. So, you know, we got that stuff out of the way. I want to jump into the NFL Combine and Pro Days. So not only at Premier do we train the high school kids, we also train guys to get ready for the Combines and Pro Days. But I want to talk about the Combine, the NFL's invite-only big event to show the number, size, strength of these athletes. T, you experienced it more than me. I actually lost my invite due to a knee injury back coming out of college, which, you know, it kind of hurt my feelings. I ain't gonna lie to you. But, you know, you got to experience, some of our other teammates experienced it as well. Can you elaborate exactly what goes through your head? Are you prepared? Like all those things. This is a lot. This is a big time interview, you know? So if you can elaborate on it, I appreciate it.
You know what? So the first thing you have to wrap your head around is, especially when you come from a smaller school, and I'm not saying East Carolina is a small school, but we're not a Alabama, we're not a Clemson, we're not one of those type programs. So when you go to the combine, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see the top 300, 350 players in the country.
Mm-hmm.
That's there, and they're all representing these big time programs that you're used to seeing on TV all the time, and used to seeing these guys on TV all the time. So the first thing you got to do when you get there, first off, you got to realize that you belong there. Because if you don't have a mindset, you're going to get there. And so when I came out, you had Larry Fitzgerald. We came out in the same class. You had Big Ben, Roethlisberger came out in the same class. So you had those type guys come out in the same class. So you have to know, that you belong there, or you're going to feel like, man, maybe is this too big for me?
Yeah,
if you don't
want to become a fanboy.
Exactly. So when you get there, that's the first thing you have to change your mindset and understand. Maurice Clarett was there. Remember Maurice Clarett that came from Ohio State?
Man, that was a big talent, man. That boy was talented, man.
Yeah. So he was there as well. So it was a lot of guys there that, that you was always seeing them on TV, always seeing their teams play. So that was the first thing. The second thing was just keeping your nerves down, because when you got all the scouts there, you have all the head coaches, assistant coaches, you got GMs there, you got owners there. Everybody's there, and they're there to watch you perform. And there's no fans. They are the fans.
Yeah.
And they're not fans. They're there to evaluate. So that's the next thing that you have to deal with. So you have to make sure you keep your nerves down, and understand that it's still just football. It's still football. But when it comes to the actual things you have to do, when I say things you have to do, when you have like the 5-10-5, the 40s, the bench press, and all those things, you have to be prepared.
Right.
You have to be prepared. It's a totally different environment. So you're not in your regular environment the way you would if you was at your pro day at your house, at the school, whatever school you're playing at. So that was the biggest thing. But the biggest thing you have to deal with is when you get in your measurables. And I think we talked about this on another episode. So you have a stage, and all the players are lined up off the stage, and all the GMs, so it's an auditorium. So all the GMs are sitting in the stands with their notebook, pads, coaches, and we're there with no shirt on, with just some praise. And you got to walk up these stairs, get on this stage. You get your measurements done. They measure, they call your measurements out, get on the scales, how much you weigh. And why are they doing all these things? Yelling it out to the owners and the GMs. It's almost like you're on a meat farm. Like they about to sell some meat, and you the meat that they sell.
For sure. Exactly. Because the thing is, when you sit there and you see these other guys go in front of you, like, all right, his hand was 10.5 inches. His hands, man, mine's only going to be like 9.75. Like, is he better than me? You know what I mean? It's like, what is this? Like, I got small legs to be such a big guy. And I was like, they measure my calf muscle. I'm sitting here listening to this. Man, that dude's huge. This guy's huge. Man, mine, I'm looking down at my legs like, man, am I going, like, what are they looking for? Like, what are they looking for? Are you what they want? And it's actually, it'll make you question yourself, like, for sure. And if you're not mentally tough, like, we always speak on, sports being more mentally challenging than athletically. If you're an athlete and you're a standout, that came natural in most cases. But then it's just that mental part is what takes you to the next level. So when it comes to those pro days and those combines, it's mental preparedness is so important that it needs to be the forefront of the conversation versus how fast you are or how strong you are. Speaking of fast, I mean, we had our old teammate and former East Carolina, I think it was 13 years ago, 14 years ago, like it just came up the other day on social media. It was like when Chris ran that 4.24, Chris Johnson ran that 4.24 and kind of put East Carolina, let's be honest, he put us on the map with that 4.24.
Really?
Like, I feel like his videos are probably the most ECU videos ever watched on like YouTube ever after he ran that, showing his highlights and how fast he was and where he come from. Because again, we're not a Power 5. We're not that big school that everybody knows. So we kind of go under the radar. And, speaking of size of the schools, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, what he's doing with the HBCUs, which is the historical Black colleges and universities, do you think that he's going to be able to get more recognition? Like, is it going to stay trending in a direction, or is it because just Coach Prime is there? Like, if he was to leave next year, do you think this NFL scouts will still be visiting the HBCUs?
I think they would face, but to me, and this is just my opinion, I think Coach Prime is the best. When I say the best, I'm talking about the best example of a coach coming to an organization. When I say organization, I'm talking about Jackson State, but he just doesn't represent that organization. He don't just represent Jackson State. He represent all of HBCUs, because let's face it, HBCUs has always fell by the wayside when it came to those big. But with a guy, and I think with him, the only person that could have done it is the guy of his magnitude, because he has a ton of accolades when it comes to playing football, but his personality as well, brings a lot to the table when it comes to bringing recognition to everything HBCUs have going on. So to me, I think Coach Prime is the perfect candidate to be, and he's the representative of HBCUs, not because they appointed him as a representative, but
it's just who he is.
It's just he is. He's the face of it right now, and he's doing an amazing job with it. But I really don't think that if another coach would have came in, he would have had the impact that Coach Prime has in the HBCUs and the things that's going on, because of who he is. So I think Coach Prime was the perfect person to come to HBCUs and start coaching, because it has opened up so many doors and brings so much awareness to everything that's going on. And
the resources that I know out of pocket, he's done some things out of pocket for himself, out on his own. You know what I mean? So I respect him for that. And I'm really hoping that he does not get, he's going to get big offers eventually, especially if he continues his success win-loss record. But he is a walking marketing plan by himself. Like, they don't even have to create a strategy. Like, he can literally say, hey, just let him freelance this thing and he gonna get it done. You know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. You have, he flipped a couple of these big recruits coming out of high school to go to his university. And I believe there's going to be other places that people that are in situations where they don't want to leave home, but they want to give that HBCU experience. And a lot of people don't understand this. All of these big time schools, the Alabamas per se, they used to be against the African-American athlete playing there. Mm-hmm. So all of these All-Americans out of high school and stuff like that back in the day went to the HBCUs.
And killed
and did their thing. So then when you sit there and they finally, open the doors for other people, people of color to attend these universities, they were the biggest haters of the idea, but now they're the biggest winners of that idea. You know what I mean? Because they had success. And being deep South like Alabama, why do you think the SEC is what it is? You see, think of those southern states, so it's major. And I believe that the NFL is going to get a lot of gems that come from these smaller schools in the near future, because of this movement that the HBCUs that's going on. I mean, it's even happening in basketball, where you have guys considering a Grambling, but right beside Grambling is Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like, on their recruiting list. And it's just like, that's crazy that they even have these HBCUs in their top 5 schools to choose, but it's also a beautiful thing. So hopefully it continues. And for the people that would be considered a minority at a HBCU, please understand this. When you become a minority at a HBCU, there's still an opportunity for people to play. They don't shut out nobody from coming to these universities. Mm-hmm. So there's also minority scholarships. If you're at HBCU and you're a person that's not African-American or what say, you can potentially get scholarship money. I know they're giving, I think Art Browse, who used to be the coach at Baylor, just took an HBCU job. And wow. I know some people are like, oh, why is he going? He's a white guy. Why is he coaching the HBCU? Well, it's not about just being an African-American school. It's not. It's bigger than that. It's get labeled that because of the years before, where we had to label the schools the HBCUs. We had no choice because society wouldn't allow it to be anything other. So I find that to be a major hire. I see it's going to happen more. I feel like it's going to happen more, which is also going to open the door up for more of these top athletes to go get coached by these top coaches. And, someone like Art Browse, he's made a bunch of money already. So he doesn't necessarily need it by taking a premier job to get paid like crazy. Doesn't need it. So I'm hoping that other coaches like him are some of those African-American coaches that don't get their shot in the NFL for whatever reason. They take these opportunities and go coach at these schools and bring in all these extra talents and steal some of the talent that's going to these big colleges. That way the resources and the popularity will grow. And next thing you know, in the first round, we're going to be having some HBCU draft picks. I'm telling you, before 2030, there's going to be a first rounder coming out of HBCU. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's going to take some time, but it's going to happen.
That don't sound crazy at all.
But it's like you wouldn't have thought that a year ago, 2 years ago. But the marketing that, like you said, Coach Prime has done for that ranking of football is going to be so crazy. Like it's about to explode. And that's just how I feel about it. That's definitely my opinion. But with that being said, I want to have a conversation for after these combines and pro days and stuff. And it'll lead us right into it. We would just jump right into our question of the day. Question of that day brought to us by Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens, reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. It helps out with gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging, which T Cop, if you look at his beard, he needs some of this. I see some experience in that beard, brother. I see some experience. But to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/believe. That's BLEAV. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/believe. Please jump on there, athleticgreens.com, check it out, get you some things. And now, going into our question today, how do you transition after a life of playing athletics professionally, high school? When you're the last, you know how coaches always preach, this might be your last time ever playing. And that's a real thing. A lot of times as a young person, you say, yeah, whatever. But it's real. You know what I mean? It's a real thing. So speaking of that, I'll go in and speak on my transition. I swore up and down I was going to have a 10-year career in the NFL. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there looking, linemen normally play a long time. Well, it didn't happen. A knee injury and luck wasn't on my side, if you want to call it that. It just wasn't my calling, but I was prepared to transition right into mental health. I made sure while I was training and being prepared, but my mental toughness was there to understand that it might not happen. I might not become a wealthy guy from a sport, and I had already put a plan together. So I would say I got to give that a testament to my parents who made sure that I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. And everybody's not going to have that support system like I did, but Vernon, Evelyn, Graham had me lined up the right way. I'm be honest with you. So, and my supporting group of friends that I had at that time also were there to assist me with making that transition. But it's not for everyone. There's so many times me and you, we've experienced where our teammates after football didn't work out. Now these guys are doing bids in prison because they couldn't figure out. They wanted fast money, and their thing was going to be NFL was going to pay them. Well, it didn't work out. These guys are in jail for crazy crimes that I would have never seen these guys or think they would do. And some guys are still dealing with depression. Some guys lose their way completely. Anything athletic about them is gone because of the weight gain, because they literally just lost who they were and what they were at one point in time. Instead of reinventing themselves and creating a different dynamic for themselves, they just fell in a hole and was unable to pull themselves out. So for you, I mean, explain to me a little bit about your transition, because like I said, you had that 10-year career. You did your thing. And how did you transition? Obviously, I'm your friend, so I've seen it, but the people might not know.
So when I look at guys transitioning from the NFL, it's kind of two types of people. And I'm just talking about the NFL part of it, or you can say college as well. Mm-hmm. Have one person that has played a lot of years. You know, they had their fill of it. They knew it was time to retire. They felt like it was time to retire. Now, the next thing for them is, okay, what do I want to do next? You know, what do I want to do next? And the reason why I say that is because just think about, you've been playing a sport all your life. Because if you get to college, more than likely, of course, there's numbers that may say different on certain occasions, but if you playing college football or you make it to the NFL, you've been playing football the majority of your life for the most part of it. And Now you've been playing this sport that is a child's game, and you've been playing it for this long and something that you love doing. So now when you're done, after you had your 10-year career, you finished everything you was doing. Now when you're done, you're looking at yourself like, okay, what's next? I don't want to go into a job I'm not passionate about. I've been passionate about this job that I've been having for, shucks, forget the league, college,
Yeah.
high school, all your life. You've been doing something you've been passionate about all your life. And
It
here you are.
defines you to a certain extent. It defines you.
Yes. So here you are now, you ready to retire or you're retiring. Okay, what's next for me? That's one person. The next person is a guy that has been playing college ball or that made it to the league and only played maybe 1 or 2 years in the league. This person is a person that still has ambitions to continue playing, whether they just finished in college and they're still trying to get a shot in the league, or whether they was in the league for 1 or 2 years and trying to get back in the league. So you have that kid that don't know when to say when, to when it's time to transition from, okay, that football mindset, because, okay, you haven't played in a while. More than likely, you're not going to get back into the league, or you're not going to get to the league after a few years to continue trying. So now you have a kid that's on the fence about, okay, do I continue to try to play football, or do I need to get out and get a job? And that's when depression sets in with them as well, because you just don't know when to say when. You don't know when to stop, or you don't know what's next. Like you said, I've been playing football all my life. I don't know anything else. I've been dedicated to football all my life. I don't know anything else. What else do I do? So that's when depression come in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's two types of people, and those types of people, they're still dealing with the same effect of not playing football anymore, but it's differently. It's different when somebody don't know when to, okay, give up the football dream or give up the hoop dream because you've been trying and trying and trying and you can't get back in the league, or you can't get to the league. But it's just a fine line when you're telling a kid, or when somebody come and talk to you about it. It's tough to tell somebody, okay, it's done for you.
Right.
Stop focusing on this and get a job, even though those are hard conversations to have with people. But it's just a real fine line, because it's tough to tell a kid, give up on your dreams.
Right.
Up to tell somebody, look, your dreams of doing this is done. You need to get a job. That is a tough conversation to have. And so that's why I just feel like it's two types of people. And for me, my transition, not to go too long into it, my transition was a little easier because it wasn't easy, but it was easier because I played for a long time. I knew it was time for me to stop. So once I was done, I set out. I didn't really do too much for about 2 years, but that got old quick. That got old quick. Money gets spent quick when you just sitting out for 2 years, so. And then it's like, okay, I want to do something, but I want to do something that I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the reason for me opening up the Premier Sports Academy, because I always did camps even when I was playing. I always gave back to community even when I was playing. So when I was done, I wanted to do something that I love doing and open up a sports academy and teaching the kids what I didn't know growing up, not just mentality wise, just life wise. The fact that we can give these kids something that we wish we would have known growing up,
Right. I mean, see, and that's major. That's major.
Yeah.
And you hit on something that we have dealt with training. I mean, I've done some of the camps with you. I've held my own camp, and we both have been camp oriented. And I always felt like one of the biggest thing is teaching the things. Like, we were blessed to learn so much from the people that we have encountered through sports. Like, if I would have known that beforehand, like, how much better would I have been? So with that being said, I want to transition, and we're going to a topic that, today, that I wanted to talk about a little bit, just hit on, because I've recently had to experience this. And that topic is brought to us by NordVPN. NordVPN is the world's best VPN service, offering the fastest connectivity most servers, and next-gen encryption to make sure that everything you do online stays secure. Plus, you can use the NordVPN on all of your computers and devices, no matter the operating system. With NordVPN's unlimited bandwidth, you never have to worry about a slow connection either. And plans to start under $4 a month. So $4 a month to protect all your information, I feel like that's a deal. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/believe. Use the code BLEAV to get up to 70% off your NordVPN Plan Plus, one additional month free. It is also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So protect your stuff. So when you hit on it, it resonated with me. So we train these athletes.
Yep.
And a lot of times, believe it or not, these guys are looking up to you. I mean, when I was done playing and to see what you did, because similar in college, we both kind of had that same buzz, and you extended your career and mine didn't extend as long. That's fine. But I was so proud of you and what you did, because you kept on going and was from that underdog type mentality and you made it happen. But now when you're dealing with today's kids, where highlight reels of Tyreek Hill pop up and LeBron James and LaMelo Ball, and I'm going to be that next guy's the mentality they have.
Yeah.
But in some cases, it's not in your DNA per se, or it's not necessarily set up for you, or you're late into trying to pursue that. And the conversation you have to have is, hey, maybe Division I's not a realistic goal for you. You know what I mean? Let's stop focusing on that. Like, to have that conversation with a kid is so hard. Like, I've yet to figure out a way to do it. I kind of deflect it all the time and take a different route and or just literally walk around that whole thing and talk about something else. Let's do this athletic training, because I don't have it in me yet to say, hey, it ain't gonna happen. Because I mean, again, we're not we're good at what we do, but we're not the end all be all. That's not us. So how do you go about having that conversation, or have you had that conversation and say, hey, kid, you're not going to go to Alabama. You're not going to go to East Carolina. You're not going to go to Carolina. How about, let's look at Barton. Let's look at Elizabeth City. Let's look at, you know what I mean? Like, and a lot of them don't understand. D1, there's this post that goes on Facebook. It pops up every year. Division I athlete, you're a stud. Division II athlete, you're a stud. Division III athlete, you're a stud. Junior college, you're a stud. NAIA, you're a stud. 7% of all high school athletes play collegiate. So guess what? You're still a small microcosm of today's world that you're still playing. So accept that thing, and not let's focus on the ones that you see on ESPN at 7:00 at night. That might not be for everybody. There's a reason why those guys are there. How do you have that conversation with your athletes?
So first off, you kind of hit it on the head. I kind of let them understand, listen, there's no such thing as D1 or a bust. Right. So a lot of kids feel like, oh, if I don't go D1, I'm not successful. I didn't succeed. No, that's not it. And like you said, just by you going and playing college ball after high school is still huge. It's huge. And everybody, like I said, everybody's not going to be able to play Division I. But this is what I tell them. When the kids, I'm always asking, okay, what do you want to do after high school? And everybody said, I want to go play here. I want to go play there. So I'll tell them, I say, listen, for one, and this is what kids got to realize, you got to pass the eyeball test first. We was talking about something off air a little earlier about a kid that's playing linebacker that's 5'8", you know, maybe 160 or something like that. You'll have some kids like that, but they want to go play at Clemson or Alabama or Notre Dame or something like that. This is what I tell them. Because one thing about it, I never want to distract the kid from his goals and his dreams. So this is what I tell them. I said, listen, I want you to work like, okay, I want to go to Alabama. That is your goal. Keep that goal. Work for that. Work your butt off to get there, to get to Alabama. Now, even though is that person going to go to Alabama? More than likely, no. They're not going to get to Alabama. But I want you to have that work ethic, and you're going to try to get to Alabama, because I'm never going to tell you you're not going to go to Alabama. Right. I'm never, because I'm not the judge. I'm not the say all be all. I'm not going to tell you what you can't do. But what I will tell you is work your butt off to get to Alabama. But if a D1 scholarship don't happen, guess what? If you do go to D2 or D3, you're gonna be a steal for them.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a work ethic of a D1 athlete, but you can be playing Division 2 or Division 3. So, but don't look at it like, oh, if I don't go D1, it's a bust. No, keep that work ethic to try to get D1. Keep working to try to get there. But if it doesn't happen, and you actually end up going to D2 or D3, you just go in with that mindset. Listen, you have that mindset that you are a Division 1 player and you're playing Division 2. So when you get there, you dominate.
Yeah, that chip on the shoulder is real. You got to have that sometimes, And I personally, dealing with that situation, and I have to learn to do it how you do it. Like that is a fault of mine. I will run from it every single time. I will have a conversation about other places, but I would never say, hey, anything for you, But like we say, the eye test is real. The eye test is real in real life. Like, men will look at a pretty woman and think that she's a better woman because she's pretty.
Yep. Eyeball test.
The eyeball test. But it doesn't mean that's best for you by no means. We'll see a guy locally. You can see a woman or a man that's tall. We've seen 6'10" guys, 6'7" footers walking around. What's the first thing coming in your head? What if they play basketball? I get it all the time. It's like, I'll get that random question, guy going, what's up, Hoss? Did you play ball? Yeah, I played water polo. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, you can tell when some people played something. Like, but the eye test, people will always question. So it sucks that there's an eye test, but when you look at something to say you play offensive line and you look at an ECU and every lineman is 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and you're 5'10".
Yeah.
They're 6'6", 330. So it stretches that out. You know what I mean? At 330 is stretched out.
Yep.
5'9", 330. It's kind of in a ball. It's not necessarily ideal. You know what I mean? And I'm not picking, but it's just like sometimes you got to know that it's not for you. My best friend, Benny Raindrop, shout out to the Drop Dog.
Benny.
He was shorter. I was taller. I had the extremities. I was blessed with those things. But he was big about the game of football. So what did he do to stick around it? He became an equipment manager while I was playing at ECU. So everything in practice, he was there. When we traveled, he was there. When coaches, fussed me out, he was laughing at me later on at the apartment. You know what I mean? It's just, there's other ways to be involved in sport and you don't have to be playing. Like there's athletic trainers, there's equipment managers, there's coaches, there's administrations, there's the tutors. There's so much more to keep you involved in the game. And it does suck. I've seen kids that don't go D1 and are at home now saying, dang, I should have took that scholarship offer I got from Elizabeth City State.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about it. I'm just like, dude, you could have still had a chance. And now you're sitting here looking at how, like we said, Coach Prime has changed that dynamic a little bit at the HBCUs. An opportunity to make it to a pro level is starting to arise on these lower level schools. You have Cooper Kupp putting on for smaller schools. Jay Rice did it years ago. What was the little short running back that came from A&T? I can't think of his name, played for the Bears, but he put on for everybody. Yeah, so it's opportunities are there. So take these gifts, I'm gonna say gifts from God that you're able to play, because when you see here say 7% of all high school players play on the college level, we sit there and say 7% at just your high school, that's a small number. Now do it with every high school in the country. Not to mention there's kids that are coming from Europe. There's kids that are coming from Canada. There's, you know what I'm saying? So you're competing against a lot of kids, and there's only 80 scholarship athletes on the football team. I don't know how many on a basketball team, but I'm sure it's less than 14. You know what I mean? Around that, So, and then soccer wise, some sports don't have the same amount of funding and backing to give scholarships. Like I know like women's soccer, they don't give as many scholarships. Women's softball don't give as many scholarships, but that percentage just drops based on the sport. So wherever you get a chance to suit up your laces again on whatever level, do it. And do it with a chip on your shoulder if you felt like you were better than that. Do it as if you are playing for a chance to play professionally. Do it with the attitude that I am the best in the country no matter what. You know what I mean? You have to do that. Sit here and say the best wide receiver in the NFL this past year was Cooper Kupp with a gap. I mean, the next person, there was a gap.
Pause.
Yeah, for sure. You couldn't even tell me, well, you might be able to, but what school did Cooper Kupp go to?
I can't remember.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You know what I mean? And we sit here and watch this guy and watch his stats, read his bio 100 times this year. But guess what?
Yep.
We still can't tell you what school he went to.
Nope.
But he's the man now. So, ultimately, kids, be realistic with yourselves. Parents, be realistic with your kids. Don't leave it to somebody else to sit there and tell your kid that, hey, that's just not for you. Like, have that conversation. And luckily, some kids do have that support, but there's so many that don't. And I wish there was a class that say, hey, you can still be successful if you don't go D1. It's not a D1 or bust. Throw that whole statement in the trash can. Throw it away. If you want to play sports collegiately, play where whoever's willing to want you. Ain't nothing like being wanted. Ain't nothing like being wanted. So don't frown your face at somebody that wants you. And that's in every avenue of life. Don't frown your face and turn your back on somebody that wants you for who you are.
And then on top of that, you got to look at grades.
That's a big one.
Like, grades will dictate where you go to school at. It's going to dictate it. And I'll give you a prime example. I'll give you an example for myself. When I was in high school, I was a freshman at Washington Heights, right up the street. And I played on varsity all 4 years. It was a 3A school. So after my first year as a freshman, UNC Chapel Hill, they came to my high school. They talked to my coach, and sitting down, he was like, well, coach, he got good film. We like what he looked like. I was all area, all conference as a freshman. And it was like, well, how big is he? Say how big I was. He was like, okay, that's not bad. Then they said, well, what's his 40? Gave my 40 time. I was a freshman. Gave my 40 time. And like, he got time to get faster, but he's doing this versus varsity players anyways, even with the speed. So he got time to get faster. Then he asked, well, coach, what's his GPA right now? Boy, Big E. Coach said, well, coach, right now he got a 1.8. The scout closed this book, got up and walked out. And look, and listen up, people. I was recruited by Notre Dame, Kentucky, Penn State, ECU, Wake Forest, and a few other schools. So I was recruited by some highly touted schools once I got eligible. But guess who never came back? Carolina never came back. I never heard from Carolina again because of the first impression I gave them. Like, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And because of that first impression I gave them when they came to the school, they never came back. So imagine if my grades never got to where it needed to be for me to get eligible. Now I am this D1 talent, this NFL talent. Maybe not then. I had to continue to grow into that NFL talent and work my way to it. But you got this kid that played in the league, or this kid that's a D1 talent that can't get into college. So now he got to go either JUCO route, or he got to go to a Division III route, whatever it was, whatever route I had to go through. But because of my grades, if I didn't get them up, I would never went to East Carolina.
Right.
So grades is huge. That's a big part of it.
I mean, for sure. And you said it, that is 1000%. If it wasn't for a Miss Ridge Brown, a Miss Metz, Coach Kevin Wilson, and Mr. Tim Brown at Richlands High School, wasn't going to happen for me either. They held me accountable, called me out. I had to get grades in their classes to be eligible, and they challenged me. Could you imagine the opportunities you have if you had it right from freshman year on?
Real.
We were so gifted with our talents, is you forget that school part is, I'm going to school to play sports. I need to go to school to go to school. You know what I mean? To get my education, not to play sports. And, it's something that a lot of kids don't understand. You'll have guys, again, that don't have the grades and get mad because D1 and D2 ain't offering. and frown upon junior college, but you put yourself in junior college mode, dude.
Yep.
You need to go to junior college for that year or two, and then you can get re-recruited with the appropriate grades. And speaking on junior college is not just for people with bad grades. I want people to understand that. Some people need to go and develop physically and get on that meal plan where they gain weight, get in that weight room where they get their strength up, get in there training on the tracks and on the grass to get their speed up for the bigger colleges to come out there. We had a guy named Sean Levette came to ECU. He was a tight end, really good tight end. But out of high school, he was 170 pounds, 175. So when he went to JUCO for a year and a half, and he had a 4.0 coming out of high school. So he went to junior college to get on that meal plan, get on that weight program to where he came to ECU around 235, 240. Then they can build from there. But that 170 at tight end, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna get it done. So junior college, not just for bad grades. So please don't frown your face at that. It's also for physical development and mental development as well. So
and then to take it a little, when it comes to getting colleges, it's all about your background. Because one thing you said, you had a great support system, but you're gonna have a lot of kids from the hood, from the urban areas that don't have that mom and dad in the house. That all they had, prime example, myself, my grandmother, I was raised with my grandmother, don't get me wrong, my mother was there, don't get me wrong. But when I was growing up, my mom worked a lot. She was a single parent mom, so she had to work for me and my brother, and to make sure we was clothed and roof over our head, different things like that. So we didn't have that. I'm just speaking to myself. I didn't have that support system at the house that I could come home and ask somebody to help me with my homework.
Right.
Then without having a father figure in the house, I'm always out hanging out with my homeboys. Man, Tupac raised me. That's what I'm listening to. That's what I'm listening to, Tupac. The music that I was listening to is what kind of motivates, because you don't have that father figure there to teach you the right things to do, the right paths to go. So when you got homework that you got to come home with, you trying to get outside with your homeboys. So if you do your homework, you do it, but I don't got nobody to check it.
Right.
So the grade I get off of it, that's the grade I get.
Yeah, you just answered all the questions. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Turn it in.
So a lot of people, not just my situation, but you have a lot of people that comes from, areas where they don't have, those resources to them at the house.
Right.
So it's a lot of different reasons why kids' grades may not be what they should be. And also because sometimes you're just lazy. And with me, I'm not all in my environment. Sometimes I was just lazy.
Yeah. See, a lot of, and again, to beat the dead horse is, I personally had that person to say, hey, get up. And then when I roll over, they come back in 5 minutes and get your butt up. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like some of us is like, they say it one time and it's over with. It is what it is. And I want to take this opportunity for the people that somewhat, I ain't gonna say are perfect, because nobody is, but you have your stuff together. I'm a big believer in each one reach one. And when you reach one, teach one. So if you see that child or that youth that might be lacking in that support, don't be selfish and only worry about you and yours and making sure yours is fine. Don't do that. Take 5 minutes and give that kid a word of encouragement. If a kid doesn't have a ride, you're that parent that picks up a kid from school, and one thing that keeps this kid from coming out is because he might not have a ride home consistently, but you got to go past his neighborhood. Don't be that person. Drop the kid off. Pick the kid up. You know what I mean? Have that short conversation to and from. Don't be that selfish of a person where you can't share some of your successes and your wisdom or experience that you have with these kids and have this conversation. That's one thing that I love about T-Cop and several of my friends that I surround myself with, is that every single person I'm around is willing to help the next person. And without help, people in our age group, what is it? It takes a village to raise a kid. Isn't that what we always used to say? Or something like that? That's still real, people. It's still real. Stop letting tablets raise them. Stop letting them highlights, if you're an athlete, train your kid. You can't get trained off watching highlights. Let's invest in these kids, if it's not monetary only, but as a knowledge and wisdom and experience and advice. That's just as big of an investment as paying for this kid to go to a camp. You know, and speaking about camps, before we wrap this thing up, Power 5 schools, phenomenal camps. The people that they want at those camps, they invite and they pay for them to go. So when you're paying full price to go to this camp, they're not necessarily looking at you. So don't be afraid to go to these smaller universities and colleges to get the same training that you would get, but you would get more detailed. It's kind of like people that want to go to smaller schools because it's smaller classrooms. I need more to learn. Go to these smaller schools and get that same knowledge that's on that football field, athletically and academically from these small universities. Don't just keep paying $250, $300 to go to these big camps. I promise you, the same thing that T-Cop and myself will tell you at the Premier Sports Academy summer camp is the same thing that NC State is going to say, but charge you $300. You like I went to NC State on that versus talking about our school? NC State's just taking your money, people. Carolina too, Wake Forest, all of them. But I want you guys to understand that just because the name is popular, it ain't where you always supposed to be. Go to these smaller places and get that same knowledge, if not more. And it's going to be more personable. It's going to be more one-on-one time and profit, and you're going to profit from it a lot more than you kicking out all of your money and then trying to go to, parents got to go to work extra hours to recoup that money. Let's go to these places where everybody's going to get taught, not just the athletes that the schools want to be there, where it's extra eyes. They're not even teaching. They just want to see that athlete be an athlete. That's really all it is. So, T, that's really all I got, brother. You got anything you want to add?
Biggie, I think you summed it up, man. You did a great job, man.
Oh, no, you did a great job. But again, my people, go to betonline.com, head over to the website or use your mobile device. Sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, to get started. Bet online where the game starts. That's episode 25, my people. We appreciate you listening, watching. Please like, subscribe, share. It's another, you know what I'm saying? It's another milestone for us. We done made it to 25. Let's keep it going. We're almost to a half a year. One more episode, we're half a year. You know what I mean? So we appreciate you. Please share your topics that you want to talk about. We're going to try to get off sports a little bit. We're still going to talk about it because that's kind of our basis, but we want to talk about some real life things. I know next week we're going to have that conversation probably about what's going on in Eastern North Carolina. We're going to talk about some other things, but hey, my good people, please continue to like, subscribe, share the videos. We're still going to have the website, not the website, but everything is still going to be on believe.com. You can still listen to it as a podcast, but we all have to have the video footage. And we're going to continue to grow this thing the best we can. We're going to try to make it more personable, more where it relates more with the everyday person when we have these conversations. We're going to have some guests come on. If you're looking for some marketing or ad space, please let us know. You can get on here. We'll share your stuff. We'll have it just like we do for Bet Online, Athletic Greens, and NordVPN, Premier Sports Academy, just like those. You can get your businesses posted on here on our podcast, and we'll discuss those things. Just share that information with us. Hit the inboxes, all right? Well, my good people, take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. T-Cop, take it easy, brother. We'll see you.
All right, brother.
All right.